Morning, everybody. It is 8:36 on Wednesday, and this is your pre-opening comment. It is video number 2027. Okay, so let's start with the chart on the screen today. It's Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had a 14% drop from yesterday's high to today's low. The reason that this concerns me is I was surprised to see it break yesterday's low so easily, although it had left a minute little gap between 43.7 and and 43.855. So that's a non-issue. We've broken through, and it looks like we may actually see a rolling over. Let's make this bigger. Yeah, we came right down to the 20-day, the 5-day did, the purple line. And it's still has not broken, but it easily could. Wouldn't take much. Also, I think we still may go back to this gap that we left. I've been talking about that since the day that it happened. That would be between 39,650 and 40,220. Um, I'm not terribly concerned about it, but I'll also mention that we had a great deal of action in two of the bigger names. Let's call them the more popular names in Marathon, MARA, and Riot, RIOT. To give you an idea, these have been running ahead. I mentioned it over the weekend in the letter, and I mentioned it yesterday again, so this will be the third time. Marathon in the last 4 days has gone from a high of 3130 to a low of 2010. That's a 30% move. And Riot has done basically the same thing. It's gone from 1875 to this morning's low of 1392. Now, the halving, HALVING, which takes place in, I believe it's April, makes it more difficult to mine. You it when they have it, that actually doubles what it takes in mining in order to create more Bitcoin. And that's pretty much what both of these companies do. And so that is somewhat concerning that it started 4 days ago. And if you look at the daily here, 4 days ago, we had hit a bottom and started up. That was that down 1,600 day, the day after Christmas. And then we went up 1,400 and down 1,000 and down 30. And then yesterday's move, which was up 28.45, but had been as high as 47.105, which was almost 2,000, 1,900 uh, off the previous day. So this is concerning to me, and it may just be another one of those rallies and pullbacks that we see. As far as I'm concerned, if we could easily close this gap just a little under 39,000, under 40,000, and I would still see this as very healthy. When you look at these charts with a little bit longer perspective, what you see is that some of these moves get completely smoothed out as it continues. Like um, this move, which was 5,000 in a week back in November of 22 looked horrendous, except that it's still, it slowly moved. And this one looked pretty ugly, breaking through all these bottoms and closing on the low, and down 2300, and the next week it was up 7,000. So it doesn't terribly bother me, but I think it would be very constructive if in fact we did get down to that 39, 39 and a half level and then started back up. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of them. The grains are basically unchanged. Oil is up 46 cents. This was another one that was kind of disturbing yesterday to see the kind of action that we had, um, to the downside after being 73.64, I believe. Yeah, 73.64 and closing on the low. But again, this is still, even though it has penetrated this light green line, which is the 200-week MA, it has not closed below that. It's trading right on it here. Even a close below, if it's held at 67 and three quarters or so, would still be constructive. You see how oversold we've gotten using the RSI, and we're very wide here on the MACD, which is usually a sign that we're about to reverse, because we just tend to not get this kind of distance between them. These futures, when I came down this morning, Dow futures were down 120, then they were down 110. And let me see if I can get you a fresh number here. Um, we are coming back a little. The S&P was down as much as 21. It's now down 10. The Dow was 120. It's now 110 still. And the NASDAQ also down about 80 after being down 120 early. Gold is down 22. I mentioned in this week's letter that I thought we were running into a problem here, that on each of the subsequent rallies, we have come down, and then rallied back up to a slightly lower high and then turned back down again. Would not surprise me to see this another $50 lower, and that would take us only, I remind you, only to the point of where it broke out on a run from 2000 to 2152. Okay, companies in the news. Not really much in the way of news per se, but we do have some interesting happenstance here. By the way, mortgage apps were down 9.4%. We have December ISM manufacturing at 10 o'clock, and the JOLTS also at 10 o'clock, the job openings. And then usually a market moving event at 2 o'clock, December FOMC meetings. So minutes. So it may not be that big a deal. One of the Fed speakers this morning said that hikes are not off the table. Um, and so we'll have to see whether or not that's true. I mean, they're talking about, everybody's talking about a soft landing and no recession, and five or six cuts. And this guy said, premature to talk about cuts. Um, Not a lot of corporate news, so I'm just going to skip over that. But I will say it looks to me as if Apple is giving up some of that market leadership in favor of Microsoft's. Um, Whenever you have a company that has basically hardware, you get very often, you get a compression of margins. And I think that's what you're seeing in Apple, unless and until they do something to change that. And Microsoft has dramatically better um, mix and margins, being a software company. So I think we may see a little bit of a shift there. Okay, up to the minute on the futures, down 122 in the Dow, down 91 in the Nasdaq, and down 19 in the S&P. I'll be back later.